Okay, welcome everybody to this workshop on LinkedIn as a sales development strategy platform for coaches, consultants, founders, and self employed experts and freelancers. So let's dive in. If you are an expert, you're probably hidden in a corner. This is the biggest problem that experts face, is they're the most undiscovered secret on LinkedIn. Another problem that experts often tell me is they have so much expertise, it's really hard to articulate what they do, particularly if you have 10, 20, 30 years of expertise. How on earth do you capture that in one or two sentences? Because of the diversity of your expertise, it's really hard to nail down a strategy, what to say, who to say it to, when to say it. And often you end up saying a little bit of everything and kind of confusing everyone. The other knock-on effect is you tend to get inbound business because you can do so much. People refer you a bit of business for this, a bit of business for that. You have a network that sends you business and gets you new clients via word of mouth. But then that's really hard to replicate that or to grow that with any sense of control. Outside of that, if you're busy just fulfilling on work, it's really hard to do your own business development, have the time to do your own marketing and lead generation. Or you've tried it and it just didn't work. So it fell flat, or the leads you got were unqualified, time wasters, people who couldn't really pay, or they ended up being a real pain in the butt. A lot of people tell me when they've tried outreach, they felt really spammy or salesy, or they don't like being pitched, and so they don't want to be the person pitching, and so tend to avoid business development altogether because of that. Don't want to be online. I don't want to market myself. I don't want to put myself on a platform or a pedestal. I think at the end of the day, ultimately, as an expert, you want to get into the right rooms. And it's really hard to get into the right rooms. Like, usually these are exclusive boardrooms of big companies, or the people who you want to get in the room with are very busy. They're very discerning buyers. They don't just listen to anyone. They're looking for very specific things. So this is why word of mouth and referral works so well, because you need to be invited in to the right rooms, and going door knocking doesn't tend to get you there. If you're starting out, you can have the catch-22 of needing a case study to get work, but also needing the work to get the case study. This is less likely the case if you're very experienced. However, if you are experienced, you can fall into the trap of working for a larger company and white labeling for them, but never really owning the client relationship, always being a bit like an employee, always taking a cut, paying a percentage to the person that brought you the business and things like that. So ultimately, these are all the problems we want to address by thinking about LinkedIn as your sales development platform, because there's a massive opportunity for you here. You really only need a few clients to do really, really well. So you don't need a mass of clients if you are an expert, but getting those few clients can be quite tricky. So how do you do that? If you do it well and you land a few clients that pay you really well, you can be right in your passion, you can be right in your expertise, and you can just get paid handsomely for it. Now, with LinkedIn and the online space, you have this access to a huge pool of potential clients, not only across your country, but across the continent and even to other geographies. And if you really can crack it, you can just you're no longer reliant on a desk job. You're not an employee anymore. You really are free to work remotely, become the boss, escape the bureaucracy. Really means you can charge more and focus on the bits that you love, which most people really want to do as experts. And ultimately, you can just create huge results. You can create impact and you can see real change in people. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to do work that is meaningful to us and meaningful to other people. And I'm sure there are other reasons why you want to crack this, but let's go on. So I'm going to go over a few solutions for you, and then I'm going to go into some of the tactics of how to do that. But first, some high-level solutions. If you are an expert hidden in the corner, I would recommend you don't need to go to everyone, but start with the circle that you know, the people who are already referring to you, and just go one step outwards. Someone who knows someone will be a similar buyer, and you just need to get connected to them. And instead of waiting for your network to refer to you, go and ask the friend of a friend. So that is the first circle of people. That just that inner one step out from the inner circle is a great place to start with. If you are a little bit trapped and reliant on your network or the word of mouth referral pool, just think about it that everyone you ever met was once introduced to you. And so it's now your chance to go and introduce yourself to new people. So just think of it as growing the pool of people who know me. I'm just going to broaden my network so that people can refer to me, people can bring inbound business to me. If you lack strategy, knowing what to say, who to say it to, when to say it, a real trick is to start to niche down and identify a very specific person who you would like to do business with. This is usually thinking about your ideal client, your most favorite client, a very specific problem you've solved, a kind of criteria of someone that you just loved working with. They paid you well, the work was delightful, you got results quickly, there was very little resistance. Often this is when you're leaning into your niche expertise. So you're really doing what you're very good at and not much else. So if you're willing to say no to a bunch of business and lean into your expertise, this can help you with your strategic point of difference. If you fear being salesy and spammy, then flip the script and think about the fact that you are the best kept secret on LinkedIn. You are a gift to the right person, and your knowledge is a gift to the right person. So instead of seeing the business development process as I need to go and spam everybody, think of it as there are people out there really hurting who need this gift of my knowledge. And how do I find them? And how do I help them? And how do I give them the gift that they are really, really looking for? And if you change your attitude to how you do outreach, it can really, really like free you up, but also make it a lot smoother. If you are someone who struggles with time to focus on business development, just think of the minimal viable amount that you can do daily. Find a rhythm. It might be 30 minutes a day, just adding people on LinkedIn, DMing a few people, maybe setting up one call per day. That's 5 calls a week. That's 20 calls a month. That's more than enough to be landing new business, and you can do it just with a daily rhythm that's comfortable for you. If you have complex expertise that's hard to articulate, it's probably because you're trying to say too much. A little bit like focusing your strategy down on the one person, the one type of client that you'd really like to work with. Think about what the problem is that they're facing and the one or two things that they need to know. And that helps you clarify massively and the articulation of what you do and how you help people. If you are stuck paying a percentage to larger brands and they own the client relationship, they white label you, they outsource to you, they give you a fee to deliver, then think of building your own brand authority by just sharing your thought leadership online. Get your name known as somebody who helps, someone who knows things, someone who is an expert. It doesn't have to be tooting your own horn. It's just I offer value all the time. And my name is synonymous with solving problems. And once you have the brand authority, then you can start to own the client relationships yourself and not be reliant on someone else bringing you business. If you've tried outreach and it didn't work before, think about this. If you share your knowledge for free, you can charge for implementation. Now, this is a point where a lot of experts resist. They don't want to share their knowledge for free. They consider their knowledge to be the IP. This is the value. This is what people should pay for. They should pay for my knowledge. When in reality, knowledge is a commodity. Knowledge is in libraries, which are free. The internet is free. And nowadays with AI, knowledge is more and more commoditized. What AI and the internet and library books can't do is they can't contextualize knowledge. They can't apply it to the particular situation of a company or a client or a problem or a project. That's what you can do because of your years of expertise. So instead of thinking, oh, my knowledge is valuable, I can't share it for free, start to freely share your knowledge. And once people need help, you charge for the personalized implementation of you helping them apply that to their company. And a really great example of this is the fitness industry. We all have the knowledge of fitness. We don't need more knowledge about diet and exercise. It's readily available online. We still pay for trainers because we need someone to help us implement, and we need someone to keep us accountable, and we need somebody to help us apply the knowledge for our specific situation, for our schedule, our particular dietary needs, our particular health needs. So be more confident to share your knowledge for free and then charge for the implementation, and you might find that your outreach works a lot better. If you just need to get into the right rooms, flip the switch on selling via outreach. So you're not DMing people to sell, you're not door knocking to sell, you're not networking to sell. You are networking to open the door. And your whole objective is just to get into the right rooms. And this can really change your strategy from, I just got to DM a bunch of people and see if they need my help, to I'm going to try and meet people, ask them questions, solve problems, give away knowledge for free. I'm going to do whatever I can just to open the door, just to get the conversation, just to get into a room, get into a relationship with the right people. And once I'm in the right room, then I can think about business and relationship and selling. And finally, if you are one of those people who's a little at the beginning, you need case studies to get work, but then you kind of need work to get the case study, then think about helping people in your network in exchange for a case study, or in exchange for a referral, or charge them cost price, or charge them nothing, just in order to get that first case study or referral, and then you're away. So ultimately, I like to think of your B2B sales strategy as coming down to very simple truths: clarity, insight, focus, translation, connection, and system. So if you can remember those 6 words, I think that's the formula. So ultimately, if you think about clarity, what is the main problem that you solve? Not all problems that you solve for all people. There's usually one big problem that you're very, very good at solving. If you can draw a big circle around the main problem, everything else gets a little bit clearer. Second, if you can think about with insight of to what is your unique edge, like why would people work with you instead of any other consultant or expert who says they can do the same thing? There's something about your unique experience, there's something about your unique personality that makes you different. Think about that and really draw that out. Then we can focus on this ideal decision maker. There's probably a certain job title in a certain size of company, in a certain industry, doing a certain amount of revenue, that really faces the problem that you solve and really needs your unique edge. Who are they? That can help you focus a lot onto who to speak to. And it can help you translate what you do in terms of what they need to hear. So you don't need to say everything you do. You don't need to recount 30 years of history. You don't need to list all of your credentials. You just need to tell them what they need to hear. And it's usually in terms of their problem and where they would like to get to, and a few things about how you can help them. Once you have the connection, you've given away some knowledge for free, you've gotten in the door, you've established trust, you've been clear, you've been able to translate what you do. Now you're able to build a relationship. Now you're in the right room with the right people, and everything can flow from there. Big business can flow once you're in connection and relationship. And finally, if you can build a system, you can do this regularly. You're not reliant on word of mouth. You're not reliant on inbound business. You're not reliant on someone randomly coming to you. You can go to them and you can do this on a regular basis. So I'm now going to dive into some more practical things that you can do that transform your LinkedIn strategy from CV to sales page. I'm going to show you how you can add 40 people a day, how you can offer value, like essentially gift your knowledge, put your knowledge into lead magnets, how you can track and measure what you're doing, because obviously tracking and measuring is important, how you can start to share authority content and build your name and your brand, how you can interact with influencers, and how to use AI intelligently. So, the first thing to think about is how to change your LinkedIn profile from CV to sales page. Often when we sign up to LinkedIn, it's when we're first job seeking. So, 10 or 15 years ago, maybe you got LinkedIn when you first were looking for a career or change of career, or when LinkedIn was kind of just on the scene. It was a job seeking platform. So you've probably set up your LinkedIn profile to profile you as a candidate for a job. It's now time to change that. LinkedIn is your sales page. And the key thing that's different between a CV and a sales page is a CV is about you, a sales page is about them. So while we have a photo of you and we have a photo of your company or some kind of branded image, the rest of it should be about them. Who do you help? How do you help them? It's about them, helping B2B service companies to scale and exit. You can add a lead magnet at the top of your page. You can add your web link, you can add whatever you want, but a lead magnet is great here. So then they're likely to not want to book a call with you right at the outset, but you can give them value here. And that's a great strategy. A lot of consultants just leave this blank. Don't leave this blank. This is real estate. You want if people look at you to see a clear photo, something about who you are, your USP, something of the value that you create, and start to be able to recognize that you can help them. So ultimately it's really, in the end, it's about them. Next section is your about. Underneath that, if you scroll down your LinkedIn profile, a lot of people use their about section as a bio. They either say, I did this, my career has been, 20 years in professional services and banking and financial sector. I moved from this company to this company. Or it's even a third person bio talking about themselves. You know, so and so has a passion for young people and the environment. Da, 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 da. So I would really recommend that you change it from a bio to a sales page. And this is really where you talk about them. I help B2B service providers to create an outcome, and I do it through email and sales systems. Here are some results. I've created this result for this company. I created this result for this company. I created this result for this company. Now it's about them. Do they recognize themselves here? Do they see that they fit, that they are likely to get results with you? How do they recognize very quickly that you're a relevant person for them? If you continue down the about section, so you get about 2,000 characters, you might as well use it all. You can outline who I help. I help B2B consultants, entrepreneurs, service providers, sales managers, sales teams. So you can even go into granular detail around, I help people with this problem. I help people with this desire. I help people that are wanting to achieve an outcome. And then how do I help them? Step 1, step 2, step 3. Usually it can be, I do an intro, I do some kind of work, and then we evaluate. Or firstly, there's a free call, then there's maybe a short-term engagement, and then we can do long-term engagement. How do you help? How do people engage with you? And finally, a call to action, like how can they find out more? Is there a web link? Is there an email address? Is there a link to book a call with you? So how can they, within 30 seconds or more, scan this and see that you are an expert in an area, that you help a very specific type of person, you have a track record of doing that. There's some more detail about who you help, how you help them, and where they can go to find out more. Now, lead magnets can be varied. This is where we were talking about gift your knowledge. So package up your knowledge, give it away, establish your authority, give value, solve problems, do all of this happily for free. And then they need you to pay you to implement. So I've used scorecards, quizzes, surveys, audits before. You can also give away white papers, strategy sessions, events. There's video courses. There's any number of things that you can give away as lead magnets. What is the best way that you can demonstrate simply and efficiently that you understand a problem and you can create an outcome? So a scorecard is a very great version of this where you can ask maybe 10 or 20 questions. It takes the person 5 minutes to complete. At the end, they get a score and they can get some insights. So everything is free. It doesn't cost them very much other than their time, but they instantly get insights based on your expertise. So they can see, oh, I scored only 6 out of 20 on the quiz about my health and exercise. Wow, I didn't realize that I was so low in these areas. I probably really need to do something about this. The same is for audits and diagnostics. White paper is usually just knowledge sharing, and strategy session is really like a 30-minute one-to-one, almost like a live audit or a live scorecard. Okay, so think about how you can create lead magnets, put them on your LinkedIn profile. You can usually put it at the top here. You could also put it into your about section. Just have it as a resource where you can give it away. The thing with people not having enough time for business development is really just a proportional factor. If you are spending 100% of your time on client work, and then doing your own kind of taxes and finances and, maybe delegating a bit of work to someone else or reporting to your client, what you're doing is you're squeezing out the lifeblood of your business, which is sharing lead magnets, sharing content, generating leads, networking, following up, bringing new business in. So if you can just shift it to 20/80, that's the equivalent of 1 day per week out of 5. It's the equivalent of, an hour or maybe 2 hours a day out of 8 to 10 hours of doing this work, and the rest of it can be focused on client work. So I would pause and ask you, have you added everyone from your email list, your little black book, your phone to LinkedIn? Because if you're not connected to everyone on LinkedIn, then they don't necessarily see you there. They don't see any content you share. They don't necessarily come loop back around even as an inbound lead. So definitely just make sure that you are connected to everyone from your network, all your ex-clients, everybody. Once you've got them there, that is an asset for you forever to grow your network because they form the basis of your pool of people that you can grow from. Do you have something that you can give away? So, what is your lead magnet? Is it a quiz or a scorecard? Can you do a strategy session or an audit? Do you have a white paper or an ebook? What's something that you can give away? Often it's something you don't need to take time to give away multiple times. You create it once and you can give it away to hundreds of people. Make sure your case studies are clear. A lot of case studies are just character references, like Bob is a really great person, really trustworthy, really loved his work. That's just a character reference. What we want is a case study that's a clear story. We had a problem in our business. Bob came in and took us through these 3 or 4 steps. At the end of it, we got this really tangible outcome that really transformed our business. So make sure your case studies are clear. I'll go back here and show this track record is the way you want to think about your case studies. Company name, generated outcome in a time frame. And we can infer from that there was a problem and then there was an outcome. We've got company name with an outcome with a method. We've got company name with an outcome in a time frame. So these are the ways you want to think about your case studies. Do you have case studies? And are they stories of solving problems that illustrate how you are an expert? Have you been in touch with everyone in your newsletter and your CRM and your book and your LinkedIn network? Have you offered everyone a lead magnet? Have you gone back through and just checked how they are? Have you gone and asked every single person if there's anyone they could refer you to or anyone in their network who might need your services? You may be so surprised who is just sitting in your network who would happily work with you again, would happily refer you to somebody in their network who needs you. You just have to ask. And do you have enough kind of thoughts on problems, market insights that you could share something every week, either once a week or up to 5 times a week with your network? I'm sure you do. And I'm sure those little niggling things that annoy you about your market, that annoy you about LinkedIn, that annoy you about the world right now, these are insights. Often it's the thing that niggle you and annoy you that become the best insights. And so think of leaning into your discernment, your opinions, where you're contrarian, where you disagree with the majority of people. This becomes, your edge. Think about sharing your insights online. Um, so there's obviously a lot we could talk about, like how to find people on LinkedIn, like how to find the CEO of a $5 million company within the East Coast of the US. Like, sure, that's a practical thing about how to use LinkedIn. Usually it's how to use Sales Navigator to find the right people. How to write an outreach script that's going to offer value and not be pitchy and spammy. How to follow up in an efficient way and not lose track of everybody that you've been talking to. How to track or measure people. How to track and measure your campaigns, and what is a good KPI? What is a good key performance indicator? What is a good benchmark? Like, is getting sending 20 messages with no reply, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Like, how do you know if it's like working or not working? How can you use AI to write content? How could you use cold email? How do you have a sales conversation? How would you interact with influencers? Or how do we refine all your product and pricing? All of this, I've created a YouTube playlist. So I'll link the slides below and you can access the YouTube playlist, but I won't go into all of this in detail. But I think once you understand the broader principles of how to approach sales development, these things become easy. These are just practical things. Okay, how to find people, how to write to them, how to track and measure, how to do an email, how to structure a sales call. All of the tactics become easy once you understand the philosophy. So I'd invite you to work with me one to one. If you're interested, we can work on the strategy of what you say, who you say it to, when to say it, how to create lead lists, how to create scripts, how to create lead magnets, how to track and report it, what thought leadership and content you can create. I also provide done for you services in LinkedIn and email. If you'd like to reach out, contact me on Janet Sater Agency, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you'd like to send me a WhatsApp message, I'm quite responsive on WhatsApp. But I hope you found this training valuable, and I look forward to seeing you in another training. Thanks.